recorded in the interest of everybody's time. But hopefully, oh, there she is. Hi, Jolene.
Oh, good.
Jolene, can you hear us? No. No, whatever she did, she
Went away.
yeah, she kicked herself off.
If she has a PC, she may have slid over the.
It's better than me.
So if you see me, I can slide my thing over so you can't see me anymore, or you can slide it back over. It's literally just a flick of the switch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was the finger.
So I see her name appear, but Jolene, can you hear us?
She probably can, but she can't unmute.
She's calling in, so you'll be able to see her and hear her. Hang
Okay.
on.
Oh, and Michael's on the phone. Okay.
Wait, Jolene is
That's
on
correct.
twice.
So Geraldine's computer, I don't know why it's off right now, but you could see her, and then her phone, you should be able to hear her. If she, let me see if I can unmute her. Yep, you should be able to hear her now.
Jolene, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very
Okay.
much. Okay, so I
Can
think
I
we'll go.
Could I just insert a trivia of CPC news?
Yeah.
A dear old friend of mine whom I haven't seen in 15 years came to visit. She's here for a week, and I mentioned that I had a CPC meeting this morning, and I started to say community preservation, and she said, "Oh yeah, I know. I just submitted an application to the Concord CPC. I'm on the board of the Wright Tavern, which is where Benjamin Franklin and a whole bunch of other people started talking about the Continental Congress." So, and they're asking for $500,000.
Well, in
Welcome-
Concord, they
welcome
may
to
have a few
Concord.
more dollars than we do.
Yeah, welcome to Concord.
Okay, so we will get started, folks. The first order of business is the minutes of September 23rd. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I
So moved, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. A second?
Jan,
Thank you,
seconds.
Dan. So take a minute, look them over, see if you have any questions. I will tell you that I was remiss. Mary had sent me a long time ago a draft of a memo about the cemeteries, which is mentioned in the minutes. Our request that the select board provide better funding for the cemeteries. And I was remiss on that. And I looked at the minutes the other day and said, oh dear. And so Mary and I did get that, and we did send that out. So we can either take that now as related to the minutes, or we can wait till new business, but fairly straightforward, but might as well deal with it now while it's up. So in addition to the minutes, Mary sent a copy of a memo we're going to send to the select board. So are there any comments on that as well?
So that looked good to
I thought it was a good letter and said exactly
Yeah.
how we're feeling.
It's really Mary's letter, so nice job, Mary. All right, so Mary, I don't know that we need a vote on that because we previously expressed our interest in sending this. So I think we can just go ahead and send that as being from the whole board.
Okay.
But we should vote on the minutes.
Absolutely, Jan, I was just going to say. So any other questions on the minutes themselves? Seeing none, all those in favor of the minutes signify by raising your hand saying aye.
aye.
Very good. So the needs assessment list is the next item on the agenda, and I'm happy to report that on the housing needs assessment, we've actually completed one of the tasks. So, not every day we get to say check on that, but on that list is building the houses on Route 6 at 2082 next to the motel, and those houses have been built, and those people are now proud Wellfletians and also attending our local schools. So
Wonderful, wonderful.
I think we're all pleased after many years to see that that is accomplished. Any other comments from the other people that have needs assessments? Any changes or anything you would like to add?
Well, I think the idea, Gary, was to get it out to their committees.
Right.
They can get them back to us for the hearing with the select board.
So what, Mary, will you select a date with the select board? Will you arrange a date for the select board? Generally, we've been doing it in December, but I don't know.
We'll try for December because that would work with a little presentation of what's coming with projects, which is what we've been doing. And then the needs assessment, which is the required hearing every year.
Okay, so if you, if folks who have committees that have needs assessment lists could get it back to us for our November meeting, then we would have it in time for to supply it to the select board for their meeting sometime in December, whenever Mary can arrange it. Okay.
Good.
Anything else on needs assessment, Mary?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. So next item is the new applications. I thought I would just take them in the order in which they appeared on, oh, I don't know if you see this, but the order in which they appeared on Mary's spreadsheet.
Gary,
Yes.
I noticed that Angel's on and he's last on the list. I don't see any. So I don't know.
It's fine, because I don't see Becky on yet, so,
Oh, okay.
all right?
We'll,
I don't-
we'll go and thank you, Elaine.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us, Angel.
No problem. I've been on during you guys trying to get everything together. I've been on it.
We have to stop bad mouthing recreation, so.
Okay.
Okay, so Mary, you have been working with the town to get a better number for how much money we have available. But you're fairly confident that the number at the bottom of the page that we have available is at least 917,000.
That's correct, except probably take out the open space 6,000 because there is no open space project. I mean, that money is available, but there is no open space project. And take out the 200,000 from the Modern House Trust since they've.
Well, now I'm just talking now about how much money we have available.
Right, the 900,000,
900,000 is about the amount of money.
is definitely is a known number. I think it's better. I think the fund balance is probably more like 500,000 rather than the 400,000, almost 400,000 that I have, that I know of. That's what I'm working on with Jane.
Right, but for this purpose of our discussion today, we have about $900,000 available to award should we choose to.
That's right.
Okay, great. All right, so the first one on the list is the Dennis Veterans Home. Entertain comments from any committee member?
This is Michael. I had a question. It says in the application that there were letters of support from Julian Sear and 2 other people. Only one came from the Whelan.
I have some background on that. They could not find their original letters. The application was really very old, if you recall.
Right.
It got stalled out on a deed reference to the property. So they were having trouble getting letters. So they're going to refresh all the letters. And he sent the one letter that you received, but he's working on more letters. He being Adam Garcia, the representative that we're working with.
You guys, just to try to catch up, because I'm feeling a touch confused.
Okay.
Was this news, was this all in the packet? Because I don't have a,
No,
was-
it's in the one before this. The-
okay,
If
All right.
you're talking about hard copy,
I don't have that with me for this meeting.
Oh, sorry.
Rhonda,
Yep,
you did get an electronic version of it when Mary sent out all the material for the meeting. It was an email on October 21st. No, excuse me, on October 15th.
okay, let me look that
No,
up.
she was looking for the hard copy version.
No, I understand. I'm
in
just saying,
Summer,
right, but there was an electronic copy that you did send
both
part of
times.
that package.
Cool. Let me look that up right away.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other comments that people have?
Gary?
Yes.
Well, I've been thinking about this one a lot, and I looked at their website and toured the house, and they're doing a great job. They've raised over $700,000 somehow. And I don't think 50,000, I'm not sure 50,000 would be appropriate, but I almost feel this is one of those issues that should go to the town to see how much, what the willingness is to assist other towns on some level. I mean, it's part of CPA does encourage, although I'm not sure we'll call this a regional project, being in Dennis. But we do have veterans here in Wellfleet that could potentially house one of them. I just feel for us to decide no on this, maybe without bringing it to the town, might not be the best thing to do.
So Elaine, are you saying you're for it, but for a lesser amount?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess hi, it's Rhonda. I guess I just feel like I felt like other projects that we have so many projects in town that, you know, that we can't fund, that with there being absolutely no guarantee that it benefits us at all. That Dennis is a city, it's much bigger than us. We have such limited funds with never knowing how much we're really going to get because more people are in the kitty. I think sometimes it's okay to just say no.
Yeah.
I, of course, have the opposite point of view. I think that we owe our veterans our help and allegiance, and we're not likely to have any kind of veterans home built in Wellfleet. So if we're ever going to be helpful in finding housing for veterans, this is our one opportunity. And I don't know about the amount of money, but I think it behooves us to be part of the goodness of giving to veterans.
Does that exclude any housing that we're doing from them going to veterans? I mean, it has nothing to do with respect or
No,
disrespect.
they're in the application process for certain public funded housing. Veterans do have, I believe, some higher status.
Right. So that wouldn't exclude them from anything we're doing here.
Right. It isn't that we're excluding them, but this is, you know, more targeted and specific.
And it was a limited number of veterans that it served, wasn't it a small number?
If I understood it correctly, it was 5, right?
Right.
Right.
Yep.
But it's not a permanent place. It's
Huh.
a place to get themselves together, not be homeless, get skills, get psychological help, and then move on.
Is there a time? Yes, I read it the same way. Mary, is there some limit of time that they have that they can spend there?
You'd have to ask the representative, I think. I don't think that's in the application.
Probably has to do with how long it takes them to get on their feet again.
I
Right.
think so.
Right. What?
Hey, Gary?
Welcome. Bob, can you hear us?
Oh, good.
Bob, we can see you. We can see your lips moving, but we actually can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself?
Am I unmuted now?
Very
Hey, hi, Bob.
welcome aboard.
Thank
Nice
you.
to have you join us.
Hey, Gary,
Yes,
this is David. Can I ask a quick question?
sure.
I realize it's not an application that we're considering, but it is to do with veterans. Has there ever been any request or discussion about rental assistance for Wellfleet veterans specifically? Or some other sort of housing support in that way?
Defer to Elaine on this.
Actually, the people that are doing this project did approach us to ask if there was anything in particular we could target at 95 Lawrence Road. And I think we found out there wasn't anything specifically we could do there. You know, they would have every right to apply and potentially get in. Our own rental assistance project we have in town, if I think possibly some of our people in the past may have been veterans. In fact, we're veterans, but that didn't actually play into their they were able to get the rental assistance because they were in Wellfleet, they needed it, and we have the funding, so.
Yeah, okay, yeah, thank you.
Mary, you mentioned this started in 2016, when they applied to the Dennis CPC from their application, and then they had a problem with the title on the land. So, but it is under construction now.
They got 200,000 from Dennis itself, and then I sent the update he gave on the other towns that they've approached.
They've asked for money, but they
Yes.
haven't usually received any money from other towns.
We're going to have to ask him that because he said 2 in progress. And I'm not sure if that means that's the same as us, and 2 that they were applying to. So maybe those are the ones that are like us.
You can go to their website and take, the house is in progress. It looks
Right.
beautiful. You can tour through it. It's definitely underway.
There must
Darlene,
be-
do they have the land tied up? Is it, they have the land?
Well, they're building
Yes.
it, so they
The
must.
the house, it looks like it's, 60, 70% or more complete, close.
It seems like it's an awful lot of money for a 5-bedroom house. I don't know if a lot of this money is for the program or what are the other uses for the money.
I have their sheet here.
Yeah, I looked at it too. It was hard to tell. But anyway, is there enough interest here to continue and ask them to come in and answer questions that we have? What is the?
This is Mike.
Yeah.
I think I agree with Rhonda. I mean, the only thing that they seem to be saying for Wellfleet is our veterans might be able to go to Dennis and get some sort of a counseling. But given that they're asking all the way up to P-Town, I don't see much community benefit, particularly to Wellfleet, from this.
Okay. Other comments or observations that people have with regard to this?
Oh, I'd just like to say, I feel the way Elaine feels, that it should be presented to the town.
We could move to do a smaller amount, or right now, the immediate question is, if there's enough interest in it to have them come in for our next session for a presentation, or do you want to consider it now, or do you want to wait until the next and not have them come in and think about it and we can make a decision?
I'd
I
like
think
to,
Sorry,
I'm sorry, two people were talking at a time.
go
Bob,
ahead, Bob.
go ahead.
I'd like to see them come in.
Okay, and Rhonda, did you have an opinion there? I'm
I
sorry.
was gonna say the same thing, because candidly, I would just vote against it. But why not give them the option of coming in to answer a lot more questions in terms of how it would impact Wellfleet and be useful,
Right.
not only to us, but you know, what these monies really are for in terms of the bigger picture. Is it to pay staff as well, and programming costs, or just construction, etc.?
Okay,
I just wouldn't want to vote on anything today in terms of an amount until we got more information and felt more sure about what we were voting on personally.
okay. Is there any other opinion anyone would like to express on this? So I think I hear at least enough to say, let's have them in if they would like to come in. And I think our focus is on both the what the money is for and how they are doing raising the money at other towns and what the real impact is for Wellfleet.
And the selection process, certainly.
I'm sorry, Michael?
The selection process for the 5 people
Yes.
who are going to be housed.
Right, exactly right.
Well, I can tell you, the man I've been talking to, Adam Garcia, he definitely wants to come talk to you. And then there is a director who possibly would be part of the conference.
Is he an independent fundraiser?
What is his title? Do we have that on the application? On the application, we have Regina Gambuso as the executive director.
Right.
And Adam, I had a card from him. He's right on it. I don't know what his title is.
Okay. But that, I mean, let's have them in and then we can learn more about it and really figure out if it has a real benefit to us and what other towns are doing, as well as the financial and the budgeting. All right, is there anything else on the Brewster home that you want to talk about? Very
The
good.
Breuer house?
I'm sorry?
The Breuer house?
No,
Or
the next one
the
on
Dennis
my
one?
list, I'm sorry, is the Breuer house. So I had a conversation yesterday with Peter McMahon. They are still in discussion with the son, who is asking a significant amount of money, really significant amount of money for the house. And that Peter was hoping to work with another organization, the Trustees of the Reservation. It has no connection to Wellfleet, but to help with the funding of actually buying the house. Then they would be the owners of the house, and then they would contract with the Modern House Trust to then potentially do the renovation and operate it as an open facility. So they're not close to having a deal in place. And so what Peter and I talked about was not take any action on it at this time and just keep it as an active, and if and when they work out the ownership issue and a clear path to how the house will be renovated and also how it will be open to the public in Wellfleet, that we could then entertain that contract or that application. Does that make sense to people?
Yep.
Yes.
Right, is this a Coview house?
Oh, no.
Totally different.
It's on the ponds, it's on
On Williams Pond.
Higgins and Williams.
Okay,
Williams. It's on, if I understand it correctly, it's on Williams Pond. So if you go from Gull Pond to Williams, it's on the hill on the left. He did offer, maybe down the road, if we were interested, he could arrange for a viewing of the house. So,
And I think the house comes with more than 8 acres of land. So there may be a possibility for some sort of an open space
that'd be sweet.
application as well.
So, if you're interested, we can arrange, I'll ask Mary to arrange with Peter to go look at it now, or should we wait and see what happens?
we should wait.
Let's wait. Yeah.
I tend to agree with that.
They don't own it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing to decide on.
Right.
But wait,
I think it's just a little premature right now. Okay, so is everyone satisfied if we just keep that active but take no action at this time?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. So I don't think we need a vote. It's just we have a consensus that that's what we'll do. So the next item is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Elaine, you want to talk to this?
Okay. As you know, at town meeting, the town voted to adopt the Massachusetts Municipal Affordable Housing Trust Fund to take the place of our current trust fund, which was set up years ago under special legislation. This is going to be a new undertaking for Wellfleet because this trust will be a town agency. Under our old trust, the Wellfleet Housing Authority were the board of trustees of the trust, which was great. But this new trust, under Mass General laws, has a requirement for a minimum of 5 members, including 1 from the select board, definitely people from housing, and then they encourage membership by potentially a lawyer, a contractor. We will be meeting with the select board to talk soon about getting the trust set up. So it really will become a 3rd entity involved with housing. And we will want to make sure that it works very closely with our housing authority and the partnership because we have very active organizations. But with the trust now truly being a town entity, it'll expand people's awareness, understanding. So we think it's a good thing. We are requesting that to seed that trust with $500,000. It is something that is consistently done across the state. And as we've said before, when you have money in a trust, it can allow you to take advantage of a situation that might come up prior to a town meeting. And as we're looking at the next year or 2 coming up, we know that if we can have some funding in place that could be put in the RFP in a very general way, doesn't have to be a specific amount, but in the request for proposal for 95 Lawrence Road, if we can say there are community preservation funds available, to support the project in some small way, even $500,000, as you see, if it's a $21 million project, is a small amount. But then it can also be there to support other programs. Right now, our down payment assistance program, we're about to do the last one we have under the money that was voted as a special CPA grant. And as you know, houses are getting snapped up so fast. And this wonderful young family that's just applied for the down payment assistance is competing with other people, so they can't even try to make an offer that's lower than the asking price. So we have these programs that can help people in our town, and we'd really like to keep building the trust so that it's there for these purposes. I know it's a lot of money. I was glad to hear Concord's asking for $500,000 too. So we're in good company, but happy to answer any questions and whatever.
I do have a question. Is that okay, Gary?
Sure, absolutely, Jan.
Because to me, this application confuses apples and oranges. I'm really happy to put $500,000 into this new initiative, but you're then putting it as a down payment, so to speak, on 95 Lawrence. And I see that it could be used for that, but I don't understand putting total project cost in here. And, because you've put a list of 6 different things the money can be used for. So I'm not confused. I know what you mean, but I think it would be much cleaner to just have it be $500,000 into the trust fund to be used in all the ways that housing is needed here in town. Does that make any sense to you?
I think that was what we were trying to say, although we have to certainly allude to the fact that 95 is going to, we are going to want to support that in the best way possible, especially with issuing the RFP in early spring. We wouldn't know for sure what might go to town meeting or be voted at town meeting, but to show that the intent of the town to be supportive. We do know, I know at their recent meeting, Truro voted to put $425,000 into their trust to finish up the Nauset Green project. I think the town of Eastham gave at least $800,000, when it came to finishing that off. So, building our trust over, to have money for basically everything, but of course, wanting to support 95 as one of those, as the major initiative, is part of that list. It's actually number 1 on that list of what the trust can do is to support nonprofit developers. So
Elaine, can I ask a question? So does that mean we're, excuse me if I'm feeling just slightly confused. So this is a completely separate fund with the $500,000 in it. Will this fund, along with our other one, need to be fed every year?
it's something that a lot of towns are doing. I mean, we could potentially make that request. Yeah.
So here's my confusion. If you could just sort me out, please. I don't understand how the 2 different funds are used. That's what I don't understand.
Our current trust fund, whatever funds are left in that will be transferred to the new trust fund, and we are going to rescind the old trust fund. So there will only be one.
So it gets all grouped into one.
Yes.
And that's by the encouragement of the state?
Well, having the 2 different trust funds wouldn't make any sense. I mean, when the Housing Authority brought this request to the town administrator, we asked to have town council look at both trusts and give their recommendation. And they came back with recommending we adopt the
combining the two. Okay, so how much money is coming from the trust to be combined into the new fund? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, once the new fund is set up, any funding that might still be in the old trust will be put into the new trust, and the old trust will be rescinded it'll have to go to the legislature.
Right, but in other words, do we know how much money is in the original trust? Because you're asking for $500,000 more to put towards that. So what would the total amount be in, it's like a math question.
right.
AUSB, this
Yeah.
is where I get confused.
Right now with accounting kind of in,
We don't know.
I mean, I think there's probably about $100,000 in unassigned funds in that right now. Some of the funds that are in that are assigned to the other things that we're doing.
I think that might be an overstatement.
Okay.
Anyway, something less than 100,000, Rhonda.
Well, so what do you guys say? I mean, it's like, we love and respect your opinion about what to do. Obviously, you wouldn't have brought it to us unless you felt positively towards it.
Well, can I speak to this, Elaine?
Oh, please.
So,
Yes.
so here's the reality. The trust that we used to have, or that we have now that we're in the process of getting rid of, we're the only people on that trust legislation. There was special legislation set up for Wellfleet. So this is the standard trust in the state. And there are literally hundreds of towns that now use this trust in the state.
Yeah.
And our neighbors on either side do that, as well as almost all the other towns in the Outer Cape. And what they do is, as opposed to funding specific programs, they fund the trust, but the trust has the flexibility of moving on different fronts rapidly.
Yeah.
That they wouldn't otherwise for affordable housing. So
Mhm.
we think it's a much more flexible and a much more effective way to fund it. The other reality is we do have 95 Lawrence. The RFP is going to be issued right after the first of the year for that.
Great.
And there's a big issue that's now under discussion about wastewater treatment
Mhm.
for it, which will affect all of us.
Yeah.
Frankly, some of you may have followed it, but there's an effort now underway to actually create a wastewater treatment for that area that would affect the Duck Creek watershed. So that's some money that could be used to help support that effort, that we couldn't expect the developer to that's really town-wide. And that also affects open space and water quality and everything else. So we don't know what the cost will be for some of that, but this is one of the few areas of money that we could put to that. So I think both given the immediacy of 95 Lawrence coming up, giving the water management questions and the need to fund some of that, and this is the standard practice in all the towns around us, or most of the towns around us, then I think it's a reasonable request to get this program started.
So I think that one of the bottom lines that I think that I hear you saying is that it just makes you better able to act on things in the moment instead of
Right.
going through red tape after red tape. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and appreciating that CPC is really once a year event.
Mhm. Sure,
And affordable housing happens every day of the
sure,
year, so we don't know exactly
sure.
where and when that demand will be.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that to me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Other comments or observations that people have? Do we want to think and defer on this until our next meeting, or do we want to consider this today?
Yeah, consider it today.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion.
I will move that we put $500,000 or $500,000 into this new municipal affordable housing trust to support any and all housing initiatives, affordable housing initiatives. I guess that'll do.
Okay,
Second, Michael?
thank you, Michael. Mary, did you get that?
Mhm.
I remember this is a process that still has to go through the select board and through town meeting. I mean, there are a lot of steps along the way to this, but okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion for the trust fund, signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Very good. Geraldine, we can't see your hand, or did you vote?
Yes, I said aye.
Excellent, thank you.
Unanimous.
Can you see
know what?
me all?
No, I would say, since we can't see you, that if you identify and just say Geraldine, aye. that'd be
Okay, yes, all right. I
Thank
will.
you. Thank you very much. Much appreciated, and thank you all for your support on that. Are we ready to take the next one? So the next one is the CDP Housing Institute, $7,500.
This is the second year, right? We split them. They wanted 2 years.
Right.
And we said, no, we'll give you one and then come back for the second. Is that correct?
You are correct, and to put it in perspective, I think this is the 4th or 5th year that they
Yeah,
have.
yeah, I understand that, but I mean, yeah,
But you are right.
they wanted $15,000 and we
Exactly
said,
right.
we'll take it 1 year at a time.
Right.
We also at that time were thinking, I believe, that maybe there would be a saturation point when there weren't a whole lot of people who wanted to be educated on housing that hadn't already been educated. You know, people on FinCom or Planning Board or different town officials and citizens. And so I think that was part of why we didn't want to do the 2 year. Do we know if attendance is way down or they're still getting a lot of people?
Elaine?
Right. I don't know. I can't remember if it's clear in their application, but they did reach out to the people that were the town captains for housing related things with the CDP. And they realized that the format that they were using probably has reached a saturation point at this. So they are looking, instead of doing like a 6-week effort, they're looking at doing once a month special topics that might draw a broader or a different audience, which I think makes sense. And some of it might even be a little more in depth. I mean, the Housing Institute was pretty much Housing 101.
A primer, yeah.
Even though it got into stuff that was way beyond that. This would be more special things. I know they've done a couple of things about conservation and affordable housing and things like that. So I think they're looking at ways to keep the issues in front of people, to educate the people, but taking a different tact, and especially because of COVID also. So I kind of appreciated that they had taken to heart, what was being said. I do have to say that it's really only in the past about 6 years that CDP has gone back to being really putting a big focus on housing. They had kind of given it up and they were doing economic development, which they're still doing and doing a great job, but they have really stepped forward to be a regional support. So I would encourage them to, I would support this and encourage the creativity that they're looking at.
Good, thank you.
Dan, my observation would be, I also have a question, but the reality is both in terms of our professional staff as well as the members of our various committees.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they're always changing. So
that's
we have
true.
new people coming on, and
Yeah.
both some who haven't yet gone as well as the new people, there's probably enough of an audience that it's still necessary and still fruitful.
Well, it's certainly a modest request, so.
Well, other comments?
Can I just say one more thing, Gary? Just in terms of recent activities that the CDP made happen was, for months they've had the 8 Lower Cape towns talking together. And they were the ones that came up with the process of doing emergency housing assistance for COVID, which basically almost all 8 towns have now put forward money and done it together. And that was a really excellent endeavor. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Other comments or observations from folks? So the question is whether you want to consider this now, or you have enough questions. Do you want them to come in and tell us about it?
No, let's do it now.
Okay. I will entertain a motion regarding the request for $7,500 for the Housing Institute.
So move.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Very good.
Geraldine, I.
Nice to hear from you, Jody. Thank you very much, everybody. So the next one is the Melville House repair. So, are
This
there
makes me
comments or
crazy.
Suggestions?
This just makes me crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I-
In fact, I wrote some not nice words on the top of my page.
I have to say, Rhonda, that we are a public entity and discussion, so we better reserve
Yes,
the comments.
Yes, the questions that I had, sorry, were I'm really not clear on whether this is, it looked to me like it was a private home. I just had so many questions about, is it a rental home and how this would fall under our auspices of, I mean, it's a family home that's been handed down to put in a new foundation. I mean, I just had a lot of questions that I didn't have answers to, like since it's belonged to a family trust, is it something that's rented out? Or and it's owned by a private family, if I understand it correctly.
Mary, that is correct.
Yes, it's a private home.
Other comments? Elaine, you had your hand up?
I think it's pretty clear in the CPA legislation that monies can't be used for private endeavors. So I would say
It's
that
a
we have
private
to
home.
refuse this one, unfortunately.
Well, it has to be established first that it's of historic significance. I don't think they've done that. And if it were truly historic in its importance, they would have to, even though they are a private entity, get a preservation restriction and offer some benefit to the town by, public access to the home. And I don't think the people even realize in their asking that, those would be requirements.
Mhm.
There's also no indication that they've talked to the historical commission at all about this building. I know there's been a lot of renovation going on, but I have no idea if it's been approved by the historical commission.
Mhm. To me, it just looked like a private owner asking for money for a foundation. That's kind of how it looked to me.
I'm hearing a lot of no's, but
Yeah, I move that we refuse this application on the basis of it not being possible, or it not being a legal.
Following our guideline,
Right,
not following our guidelines, yes.
I'd second that.
right.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
I'm not sure if we should explain why we're turning it down. I think we should just turn it down because we're, if they get a lawyer and say we did follow the procedure, then we might be have to reopen the issue. I think if we just turn it down, that's enough.
We can't fund this at this time.
Yes.
Okay.
would we direct them to the historical commission?
Commission.
Not.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know that we have to direct them anywhere per se. We can just say that at this time, you know, we're not considering this application.
Well,
No.
why say at this time? I don't think even if they come back to us with the same application, we would approve it.
yeah.
I think it doesn't
Okay.
fit into the guideline.
So,
but-
Mary, can you read the motion to us as you have it?
We're not considering this motion or this application at this time.
Or should we want to remove at this time?
'Cause it doesn't
will
fit into the guideline in the CPC.
Right,
We are not.
it doesn't meet the guidelines of the CPC?
Mm-mm.
Yes.
Well, I think Mary pointed out, it could potentially, if they were willing to go through that whole process.
But if they came back to us and did that, then that would be fine, but as it currently stands,
Yeah, so we can't say it doesn't follow the guidelines because there are guidelines they could follow
I
and come
see.
back if they wanted to.
okay, so I'll entertain some change in the language.
All right, we are not considering this application, period. As written?
Yes, I think as written, yeah, that's fine.
It's just so open-ended, because then you say, well, how did I write it incorrectly? So how do I do it correctly so that it is considered? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, do we have to get a little more involved in what the statute says? And since they haven't done that, that's why we are, are not approving it. I agree with Michael. I think we do have to be careful about what we say.
Well, frankly, have we simply decided not to fund this application?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, should we
Yeah.
say we appreciate their application?
No, we
No.
don't appreciate it. No, just we are not, we are not funding this application.
So let's reconsider the motion then.
Right.
So
Well,
now we are
we're
not
not
funding this
recommending?
application, period.
Yes.
Michael says yes. Jan, does that meet your needs?
Yep.
All right, so read the motion,
We
Mary,
are not funding this application.
Right.
okay? Is there now,
Or I'm still thinking maybe, can we just say this application is denied?
That's even better.
To me, it's better than talk about funding. It's just,
Okay.
we're denying the application.
right? I mean, that is our role and our
That's
responsibility.
what we do. We
We
forward
evaluate
it along,
and decide, yeah.
or we deny
And
it.
the onus is on them when they ask, well, why was it denied? Then they will need to look up the,
So Mary's already
how
provided.
Well, they're gonna come to me.
distributed and
And the story is, if they were willing to do a preservation restriction and they were willing to open the house to public access,
Mhm.
we still first have to bring the whole thing to town council because of the anti-aid amendment, because
Right.
this happened actually way back, the beginning of CPC in Eastham, with a woman who had a truly historic house. And I think it was the CPC themselves, or the the Historical Commission urged her to apply. And the neighbors and the townspeople just went crazy on it because, why should they help? It's somebody who did need help. These people have a $500,000 house that they're asking money for.
Okay, so rather than, I think the consensus is, Mary, just read us what the motion is.
The motion is this application is denied.
Right, there is a motion to deny this application. Is there now a second to that?
I second.
Second, Michael.
Thank you. Very good. Both Rhonda and Michael. Okay, is there further discussion? There being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Hi, Geraldine.
Thank you, Geraldine. So that motion is passed as it was written, and Mary will communicate with the applicants. Okay, very good. Thank you very much, everybody. The next one is the preservation of ephemeral artifacts, the museum. And it's a request for
1,000.
12,000.
Mhm.
Okay. So are there thoughts that people have on this?
Well, this is Michael. I thought that the application was well written and well thought through. It's certainly a need, having dealt with archival materials over my whole career. You have to have humidity control. You have to have the right kind of shelving. And so I would support this strongly.
Very good. Thank you, Michael. Any other feedback from people?
I have this question, just to be devil's advocate. I like the grant very much, and I understand, I think it's well written, and I understand it perfectly. I mean, the only bee in my bonnet that I could possibly have is the fact that we've given them so much money, more than anyone else ever. Could they not just simply find that $12,000 in the money that was given, or get donation money, which they didn't seek the last time they came to us for that small of a project, since it is valuable and it is totally worthwhile. So it's not the validity of the project per se, it's just we've given them a lot of money.
Yes, we have.
Well, we gave them less than they asked for.
That's an argument I often
Yeah,
have
I'm not
with
going to
my
go there.
children. I don't think it worked then.
Mm-mm.
Other observations that people have?
I think it's a modest enough amount, considering that they need 32,000. So they're going to get the rest from the kinds of things that Rhonda had suggested, donations and memberships and stuff. I think that that the whole project is huge. I mean, it was such an enormous undertaking for such a small community as ours. And I think that we're all in now, and we need to be supportive, not go crazy, but be supportive as we can for the future of Wellfleet as a historic place for people to come and seek out our history with the Modern House Trust, with the museum. You know, it's going out to be more than oysters. So I think we should support it.
I concur with Jan wholeheartedly.
Thank you, Bob. Mary, you have your.
To say, remember that the 50,000 budgeted reserve for historic preservation would only, this is the only project, and that housing reserve can only be, the historic reserve can only be given to a historic project. So it's 12,000 out of 54,000.
Okay.
Thanks, Mary.
Other comments or observations on this? So do you want to have them come in, or do you feel like you have enough information and can make a decision today?
I think we have enough information.
Is that the consensus? folks?
Yes.
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 So I tend to agree. I did have a few questions about the numbers that they submitted, but they were minor. I'm sorry, Mary, go ahead.
No, there was another thing when I spoke with Cheryl Jaffe, who prepared the application.
Right.
If you have any question about numbers, she also assures me, as in any application, any money left over at the end will be returned to CPC funds. Actually, it'll be coming out of the historic reserve fund, and anything that was left over would go back into that particular pot.
That's fine. Mary, so the question before us, no, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jan.
I was just going to move the $12,000
Right,
for.
should we do it now or should we have them in? And the consensus seems to be that let's take care of it now. So go ahead and make your motion.
I just did that. We grant the $12,000 requested by the Historical Society for the preservation of artifacts.
Excellent.
Second, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, ask for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Geraldine, we didn't hear you.
She's muted.
Oh.
Have her wave her hand.
We don't see her either.
No.
Where did David go? Is
Sorry.
No,
David-
There she is.
Phone rang. and it didn't
That's all
work.
right. Geraldine, we didn't get your vote. I said the first word in the ayes. Are you very good? And any nays or abstentions? So I think it's carried unanimously, and we can take care of that. Okay, thank you for your patience, Angel. Our next and last is the request for the stage at the ball field.
Okay, Becky's here too.
Excuse me, at the playground.
Becky's there. You want them to see you?
It doesn't matter. Good morning, guys.
Good
Morning.
Becky.
Becky,
How you
All right,
doing?
so,
So,
Mary, did you say, or Rhonda, did you say that there were questions that you want to take up front on this, or do you want to wait? Okay, so this will open up to comments or observations regarding the application for this stage. What do people say?
you want, did we correct the? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so are there questions that people have regarding this request? Yes,
This is Michael.
Michael, hold on for a second. I recognize you.
Sure.
Go ahead, Bob.
I have probably the only one here who has never bought a stage, but I haven't, and so I don't know anything about the process. And I would like to know why you chose this particular stage and what its good qualities are and what the comparison is with other possibilities.
Angel and Rebecca, do you want to answer
All
that?
right. Yes, actually, we went online to look for stages, and there were two companies with the stages that was the only two companies on there. It was this Stage Drop and Stage Depot, and those were the only stages that we looked at.
Well, I think the qualities he wants to know.
Oh, did he say quality?
Yeah, the qualities.
And the cost.
We wanted it to be able to be like able to go on ground that wasn't
Level,
even
yeah.
level.
Yeah.
So it's adjustable so that, we won't need to have a solid surface underneath, which we don't have. It's much more streamlined and easier to store and easier to take up and down. It's metal, so it can stay outside longer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's all terrain and it's waterproof.
All
Yeah.
terrain, waterproof.
Yeah.
It's hydraulic. It's more, it will be much easier for us to handle it, to take it up and down, and it will be much sturdier to have under the pavilion. Right.
Is it big enough to do the kinds of things you can envision doing with it?
Sure. Certainly, it's actually the size that's on this, it's a typo on paperwork. It's actually 24 by 8, not 16, not 12 by 16.
It's
That was a typo.
24 by what?
8.
By 8 by 48 instead of,
No, but she's
Oh.
talking about the width and the.
oh, the width, okay.
Yeah. So that was 12 by 16 was actually the wrong size. It was a typo.
So it's 24 by 8?
8 is
Yeah.
pretty narrow.
Yeah.
No, 8, well, 8 is what we always, 24 inches, 24 feet wide, 24 feet,
Long.
yeah, and the width,
It's
wide,
approximately
and
the same
wide is-
size of the stage we always had there, right?
Yeah, it's just,
Same
it's the
size.
same size of the old stage that we, so.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Michael,
Angel,
can I ask a question?
oh, go ahead, Michael.
Go ahead.
So you're proposing the stage, which is going to be inside the pavilion, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And secondly, this 40 by 8 foot storage unit, where are you planning to put that?
Well, we were planning to put that actually on the backfield. That was a request by the DP.
Mark at the DPW requested that he was in favor of this proposal, but he requested that we have a storage on site for that as opposed to at the DPW building. So he gave us the specs for the storage pod that he recommended.
So that's why we put it in.
That's why we put it in.
Yes, but this is going to be, have you checked with the Conservation Commission? You can't have a 40 by 8 foot storage unit on floodplain or fragile terrain.
We have to, right now the town doesn't have a building inspector. So I wanted to run it by whatever, I'm not sure what provision the town is using as a temporary building inspector. So I wanted to that's what we did last time to see what permitting we needed. And also Mark suggested this, Mark Vincent. So if it's not feasible to have a storage pod on site, I'm going to ask him, does he want us to put it somewhere else or consider another option for storage?
Well, I would think before we can approve it, if it has to have CONSCOM approval,
Yes,
and it
certainly.
doesn't,
Certainly,
Yeah.
we know that.
We know that. I just, because I couldn't check with an actual building inspector, it was difficult to get all the answers regarding permitting and location. And Mark didn't exactly tell me exactly where he wanted this to be. So I need to speak with him in more detail about the location of the storage pod and what options we have for that.
Are there other questions?
well, I wouldn't feel comfortable approving this if it needs approvals that you don't have.
Right. Becky, I think you really need to figure out how the storage is going to work and also who is going to.
We actually have storage, but he requested that the pod, because if we don't get the pod, we'll store it in our bay. The recreation department we have a bay. I don't know, but they move our stuff. They bring stuff up and back. So that's I don't know if that's the issue of them moving everything from one location to the next. Is that
Right.
that's you understand?
Right.
So-
So I think that what I think I hear other people saying is that you need to clarify both where the storage will be. And if you have other storage, we don't need to spend another $5,000 to.
Exactly. Yeah.
And who is actually going to move it back and forth and set it up.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
I'm a little confused because I'm looking at the actual estimate and it says an 8 by 24 by 24, 8 foot by 24 foot. And that's the quote you got. Are you saying the actual one that they're providing is different?
No, that was a typo. Tom.
It was on the first page where it said goals. That was
Yeah.
I'm talking about our
Okay,
goal sheet. Had the wrong. We have The one that I'm looking at right here had said 12 by 16.
But
So-
it,
24, just on that sheet.
but
itself.
it's really 24 by 8 is priced out,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, upstairs.
It's correct on page
Well,
3.
there is a woman set up maybe in the hall.
Yeah,
Any way
Yeah,
we
yeah.
want. First floor.
Well, wait a minute. I think we have some side conversations going on here. So,
Go ahead.
so I'm just looking at the estimate you received from the Stage Depot,
Yeah,
8 by 24. Is that the one that you're actually proposing?
Yeah.
exactly.
That's the one, yeah.
24 by 8.
Have you looked at other portable stages in towns around us?
I went online and looked at 2 companies and I looked for companies in this area, no companies in this area. So I looked at the 2 companies, and those 2 companies are the companies that keep coming up online when I'm looking for them. So it's only basically 2 companies basically online for these stages, these type of stages.
Are these stages, are the towns, other towns in our area, have they purchased outdoor stages like this?
I don't know if they purchase stages like this.
Can you find out, Angel, what other towns are doing and what they have purchased?
Okay, I can
Yeah.
find that out.
Okay. And the 15% contingency, where did that come from?
Becky, the contingency he's talking
Oh,
about.
the contingency. Well, again, I just, because we don't have a building inspector right now and it was difficult to ascertain, and just because of the past experience with
The pavilion.
the pavilion and the tennis courts, just the building inspector had given us stipulations after the fact, and it was kind of cumbersome to come back and ask for money that we didn't know about. So this is a standard contingency amount, and it will go back if we don't need to spend it. We won't spend it. It's different from the pavilion in that it's the stage itself is a temporary structure, so it shouldn't require the amount of right. Oh, sorry. Anyway, that's the reason for the contingency. Just
Okay.
my experience with needing more money.
All right. Are there other,
Especially we have to go to COSCOM and go deal with Coastal again. Remember, we had to come back we had to ask for more money for that stuff. So we have to be prepared for that this time.
Bob, did you have questions?
Yes, I had one question. You must have had less expenses this year because of the COVID pandemic and not used all your funds perhaps. And I wondered if you could take some of your funds that you have budgeted for last year and use it for this.
Let's see. Was the question that could we use funds that we didn't use
Yeah.
in last budget to cover some of this cost?
Yes.
Let's see. I'm doubtful of that. The town administrator just gave us a directive that that the budget's going to be level funded or less, and the town's not sure that they're going to get all the money that they allocated for COVID back. The town administrator just there was a Zoom meeting yesterday with the select board and the department heads that I was on. So I would have to ask that question, but I seriously doubt it given the information that the department heads have been given about the upcoming budget and the money that we already have spent for COVID expenses over the summer for masks and sanitizer and that kind of thing. So I'm doubtful that that's available, but I can certainly ask.
Thank you.
Mary, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. Is there a set amount set aside for recreation each year by us, and what is that amount?
No, recreation is not one of the ones that has a
It's not just historical and,
open space and housing.
gotcha, thank you.
Becky, this wouldn't be, you wouldn't get the money even if it was approved until July at the earliest. And when were you thinking of doing this?
Well, when we think of doing it,
But we can't do it.
well, I mean, obviously we can't do it until we get the money. But what we've been doing in order to reach the community through the programming, we've been, like I said, we've been doing a lot of streaming. We use the pavilion for classes right now and events and stuff, not events, but classes that Hillary has allowed us to do after school pretty much every day. So I envision us continuing that, and what is it, almost the end of October. So if we get if it's no longer a matter of us needing to just have it for July and August, we're envisioning using this for starting in May and going through as long as the weather holds, as well this year, especially because we're not able to go in the school. But the pavilion has been all set up with appropriate lighting, sides. The town paid for the sides.
The electricity.
So we can do streaming from the pavilion. Angel and I are thinking of, as long as we can be out here and we're not freezing, we have a camera, and it's been able to reach people during this time that we are very much appreciative of. And it's kind of, we didn't have this capability before we had the pavilion. So the stage would really, really enhance our ability to do these
Maybe
types
6 to 7 months.
for maybe 6 to 7 months. So if we don't get it until, mid-July, then it's not a big deal because we'll be able to use it until, the end of October at least, if not longer.
Gary?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I think the stage is a great idea, and it's really smart to hear that it's for all terrains and that it's waterproof. I think the big issue is going to be the storage. I don't think anybody getting permission, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure anybody wants to see a 40-foot by 8-foot metal container down in
Yeah,
that area. So kind of like the pavilion asking to go from metal and fabric to, I think looking at, and it seems crazy to have it moved from the DPW. So I think looking at a way that you can find storage on site that's attractive and legal is going to be a big issue.
Can't it just stay up?
If the answer is no to the storage, Ben, it's no, and then we could just move ahead with the stage. That's why we came to you guys. We'll take your guys' opinion on that, and then Becky and I talked about this. If that's out, and if that's not a good idea to you guys, we'll do the stage. That's it, and we'll figure out if we have to move it or with one of the trucks back to the bay, the recreation department, with the help of the DPW. We'll work that out. So,
Angel, can it be a permanent installation, or it's just gonna get rusty and worn?
it stay there because it's waterproof, so it can stay there.
Why not just leave it as a permanent? Because if it's 8 feet, it's not really taking that much space in the pavilion, is it overall?
Yeah. No, it's not.
So what's your thought process there? Maybe just
Well,
leaving it?
we could leave it waterproof, so it's not going to get damaged in that way. But we're not down here. We're also not down here all that time during the week. We're not at the field.
So you're worried about it getting ruined by somebody?
Cameras here now too.
Hi, Tom.
We have cameras here, so
We have security cameras,
Cameras,
but
Oh, good.
we're
Okay.
not here all the, once they shut down the water in the building in another week or so. We wish we could be just down here, but after they shut down the water, we're not here, so we're
So-
not able to monitor it the same way.
So if you guys think it's not a good idea for the
Store it.
storage, we'll X that and we'll deal with the stage.
I think storage is a great idea. I just think you really have to work on that aspect of it.
How about this, in the interest of time? We have questions about the storage.
Yeah.
I think you guys could come back with a couple of possible solutions to this, and definitely talk to Conscom. And I believe there is a part-time temporary building inspector that you could speak to that would help you with this. But I think we need a better solution for that, and maybe some alternatives, and also check to see what other people are doing about the stages, whether they can be left up, whether they need storage, and who's going to move them back and forth. So,
And that's the point. Who's going to move them back and forth? We usually help move stuff direct, but we wouldn't need the DPW, and we have our own storage bay. So it's not like we don't have our own storage bay.
right, but this seems like it's a pretty big thing. This isn't a thing you're going to do a couple of guys carrying it, right?
Yeah, it comes apart. So you are actually just carrying, you know.
Carry the pieces.
I think they say it takes like 2 guys to put it together. So I'm quite sure it takes 2 guys to take it apart.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it had,
All right. So if you could come back with a better sense of how you're going to manage the taking it apart and putting it back together, and who's going to do the storage and where it's going to be, and the cost, and see what other towns are doing. I think I speak for everybody that we're positive about the idea, but we have some questions about the implementation.
okay, no problem.
Okay, so
So the most important thing is the storage issue, right? Because putting it together, 2 people put it together. So
right. And
that's
right, and find out what other people are doing. Maybe there are
Yeah.
other better alternatives. So,
Mhm.
okay, do I speak for the rest of the committee to say we want to hear them again at our next session to clear up these questions, and then we will consider this? Is that the consensus?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Angela and Rebecca. Appreciate your input on this.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thank
you
you.
guys.
Thank
And
you,
thanks for the
guys.
pavilion to help with
The pavilion is amazing.
I hope you guys find and looked at it.
Yes, I agree. It's been great.
Okay, thank you. Have a
Thank
good day.
you.
Bye.
Are there other comments or feedback you want on this one? Mary, when is the date of our hearing?
Well, the next meeting, probably the best date in November is going to be the 18th, unless you want the very early one, because the 11th is Veterans Day and the 25th is the day before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So if we met on November 18th, would that work for everybody?
November. So we're gonna have these.
Yes.
The ones we want more information on is the Veterans Home and the Baker Field.
Right.
The rest we have resolved one way or the other.
I
And
know that I know that I will not be in attendance on the 18th.
on the 18th.
I'm going to be,
Anybody else have a problem with that date? offhand?
Well, since we're Zooming, maybe we don't have to do the Wednesday morning. I was looking at regular times, but I don't know.
Is another time that day?
amazingly, I'm scared to say we're going to be trying to fly to Colorado on the 15th of November for an early Thanksgiving. We have grandchildren we haven't seen yet, so we're trying to get together as a family. I mean, the 18th, I'll be in place at that time. I mean, don't make any changes because of me. I'll be aware of it and I'll do my very best to
Right.
take time to attend.
Well, there is November 4th. That's kind of early, but I know, do you think that gives people time enough?
Let's say, is 2 weeks enough time for them to?
No, I can't make November 4th, Mayor.
No, okay.
Just keep it on its usual day on the 18th.
Besides, in Colorado, you'll be up early with the grandkids anyway, so, it'll be.
God willing,
6
I
o'clock
will,
there
I
or
will
something.
be. So scary to travel these days, isn't it?
Plus you'll be quarantined.
Yeah.
True, Tom, what a good point.
Sadly,
I
no,
won't have a thing to do, that's
You
right.
won't have a thing to do. You
Let's
can't
have a
leave the
meeting
house.
every day.
all right. So
And will
we're,
November 18th be time enough for committees to bring back the needs lists?
Well, I'll try.
Yeah, we'll try.
so let's stick with the 18th. That'll give us enough time to do the needs and people to get the necessary information. We only have 2 applications that we're having further discussion on, so.
It is 4 weeks from now, so,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, so we will stick with that. I got my agenda. Is there anything else on this application or any of the applications that anyone has any questions or comments about?
Well, just,
I did want to say one thing,
Go ahead.
and I hope you guys don't mind. Sometimes I just play devil's advocate because I just think that we should think about all different views on these different applications. So I don't want to think anyone to think that it's just like, I just, I have different views on every single thing. I just want us to thoroughly think about what it is that we're doing. And I
Everyone
hope,
is
No,
entitled.
much
I hope that
appreciated.
that's acceptable too.
Right. Everyone is entitled to their voice, and I hope people do speak up and speak their minds. It only works that way. Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Bob,
I just feel that with this project for the stage, that we do need to realize that we have a very, very fortunate situation for the Recreation Department having its facility right across from the Mayo Beach, and that we don't need to do what everybody else has done so much as to show how special Wellfleet is. So I just feel that we would like to see this happen.
Mhm.
I think everybody does.
Yeah, it's a great performance space.
Elaine, you looked at stages for the library. Is that about what they cost?
It was years ago, and I have to say it was really hard to find them. So I think, this was a couple of decades ago, and it was kind of tricky at that time to find a portable stage so it looked like they found the people that are the experts in this.
You know, if they put the stage box, whatever they put it in, up against their building instead of in the middle of nowhere, as sort of a little adjunct to it, that might not look so bad. It might,
Well,
just
let them come up with their
Let them-
plan.
right.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, is this the kind of storage container that you put on the back of a truck, of a big truck?
Well, it's a 40-foot long thing. It's a big truck.
Yeah, so, but if they had it locally, then they wouldn't need to,
Go back and forth.
right, have the DPW and a truck and
Mhm.
have a lot more flexibility.
Right.
Yeah, and do they need a 40-foot long by 8-foot container for a stage
Right.
that's,
24.
foldable?
Right, we don't know what the size of this
Don't
thing
know.
is when it's folded
Or
up.
their storage space that they already have and how much of that they utilize. I actually am not sure.
Okay, well, all questions that we can ask, and
Ask them.
maybe Becky, you can talk to them.
Yeah.
Rhonda, excuse me. that
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
talk to Becky.
Yeah.
I will do that.
Okay, anything else on the applications? Finances, we talked about it a little bit. Mary, you want to talk about putting in the reports to the state?
We're working on it. Well, Jane has been most helpful, and we ran into a few snags yesterday, just on the computer, basically. So, we've got it figured out. We just have to go back and complete it. It's a learning curve, and she's been really good about working on it with me.
everyone knows, I think, that we are short one accountant, actually our only accountant in town, so it has a much to financial policy. We
And what we've done so far, we're very confident it matches up basically with last year, but we have to spend a little more time on it.
Anything to be said? Finances, any other question? No? So project reports and concerns. Mary, what do we have?
Oh, we just had the letter. I don't have anybody else.
Didn't you have an update from Pond Hill School? Jen, did you
I
say?
had to do that with Chuck, Jan, because the building inspector, we do have Richard Stevens who will go out by appointment to do inspections. I'm not sure that he's available for a discussion with Becky. He certainly wasn't available for a discussion of Pond Hill School with me. So Chuck, after half an hour, we figured out that he says he has a permit. It was held up, not for the kitchen, but for an entry, and that's done. But I have yet to see the permit, if that was what you'd like me to do.
I think it'd be nice if we just actually saw the COA, yes.
But I'm not up for another half hour with Chuck.
Yeah, I understand that.
Dan, anything you want to add to that, or?
You have to get a raise, Mary.
Yeah, it's not, yes, next year, not in my base.
I just want.
It was informative. He went on and on about every detail at the.
Well, he loves it. He loves it. You know.
He loves it, and it's you know, if he could get that kitchen done, they would be doing really well because he needs that. But they can't do the potlucks, or I guess there are, you know, some limited things they are doing with distancing.
All right. Any other reports or concerns that folks have?
Well, there is one more. There seems to be no let up on the cemetery questions. It's like a whole underworld, pun intended, of cemetery people out there. And they keep requesting and requesting and requesting information. I saw one come through by email as we were meeting even. And you know, it's beyond our scope. It's about like old feuds back in Connecticut.
Oh.
And,
Oh my.
yeah, I reply because they want information. It's public record, but there doesn't seem to be an end to it. If anybody has any suggestions.
Yes, Tom.
And Mayor, thanks, Gary. Mayor, we did a due diligence on a shellfish advisory, a shellfish request a few years ago, when we did the due diligence with the state. Is there a way to get with the state and say, hey, here's the facts of why we're turning something down? Are we sure we're on the right track? And maybe the state comes back, Commonwealth comes back and says, wait a minute, this is town-owned land. This is, they should have a budget, something like that can kind of. I found out that even in the historical meeting we had the other day, I know they wrote a letter to the select board and to our new town administrator. They didn't know the facts. I had explained the facts to them, which once they learned the facts, they said, wow, we didn't know all this information. I think that's what's going on right now. No, people don't know the facts of why we're, saying what we're saying. So I'm, back to my original statement. Is there a way to go to the Commonwealth and say, hey, here's the situation we have. We're doing our due diligence. What do you think? I remember when the meeting we had, all I did was copy the Chatham one that got approved for CPC money. And they came back and said, well, we're going to go hit Chatham on the head because it's illegal what they did for the shellfish money.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's worth a phone call to them and say, hey,
Well,
what do you think?
Mary, what kinds of requests are you getting?
Well, they keep asking for, what was paid to the Bob Devaney, what was paid to somebody we didn't even use, or maybe the cemetery did, but it wasn't through CPC money. They want requests for which stones were done. And this is various groups, including the newspaper, The Independent.
But Mary, aren't those requests, shouldn't they be directed to the Cemetery Commission and not to the CPC?
They want to know what CPC funds were involved.
Well, we can say we gave them a grant of X.
They want to know specifics of what was, what invoices came, what the money was actually spent on.
That's a reasonable request to say what CPC funds were, but not which stones were.
Yes, it's a reasonable request, but it's like person after person after person is doing it.
Right.
Interesting.
Tempest in a teapot.
Yeah, and they think they know the answers. They know what's been done. As I said, it goes back to a feud in Connecticut. And then it continues with people that keep surveillance and records on our cemeteries.
Hmm.
And then the newspaper got involved, the select board member got involved. It doesn't stop. Well, maybe it will. I've answered one request already this morning, and as I said, something came through by email while we were speaking. I haven't even opened the email yet.
Are they asking you because Cemetery Commission isn't responding?
It could be a combination. Cemetery is either not responding or they're referring them. If the question has to do with the CPA grant money, they're referring them to me. They've also, one person who I don't think identified himself had evidently a very angry conversation with Mike Travato. And as I said, it's like a huge tempest that just keeps going.
Maybe, Mary, in terms of trying to just mitigate the demand on your time for this relative to the value, is just refer them back to the Cemetery Commission wherever possible. If one becomes, if you get further ones that are particularly tricky, say I have to bring it to the committee and we'll take it up at our next meeting.
Yes, that's a good answer.
Okay. Are there other projects or concerns that folks have? Thank you all for your patience today. It was a long meeting. We will meet again on the 18th.
Can I make a quick announcement while we're together?
Go
It's an
ahead.
aside to this. Is
Yes,
that?
go ahead.
I'm the Wellfleet Justice of the Peace now.
Wow.
So I just
You-
want people
Do
to,
you marry people?
I marry people
Oh,
and I renew vows for people.
Oh, how nice.
I just wanted you to know because
Good for you.
I haven't told anybody yet. So I'm excited to tell somebody.
That's a
Thank
happy,
you.
congratulations.
Thank you for listening.
that's a happy thing.
It is a happy thing.
Yeah.
Other announcements or
Yeah, thank you.
information that folks have? That was a very nice touch. Thank
So
you
I-
all for your time today. Much
Tom
appreciated.
has a question.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jan.
Tom has a question, but he's muted.
Oh,
No,
Tom.
I don't have a
were
question.
you
I
waving
just- I was
goodbye or?
Making a statement. Ron, that's a great,
Oh.
great item on your resume.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then I move we adjourn.
I
Yeah,
second.
Second.
Excellent move.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all for your time today and we'll
Thank
see
you.
you and
Thank
stay
you.
healthy and safe.
You too.
Take care.
Everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.